Welcome to Coachify, a podcast where we have moving conversations for expats with a coaching mindset on everyday topics. We bring helpful concepts closer to you so you can use them in your everyday life. I am Réka, a life coach working with expats, focusing on change management and resilience. You can connect with me via Instagram, Facebook, or my website, theenchantedyou.com. You will find more information about me, my guest, and our topic in the episode notes. Today, my guest is Dasha, who is a leadership coach, and we will talk about leading and resilience. Welcome, Dasha, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Réka. Happy Friday. It's Friday
Happy
here.
Friday. Yes, it's Friday
Love
when
it.
we record. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So, as you said, my name is Dasha. I am a leadership coach, and I'm also a global learning and development manager working in corporate. So, I'm trying wearing different hats, and I'm learning a lot about leadership. And I'm super, super excited about our discussion today.
Thank you very much for accepting my invitation. And I'm really excited for our topic because we talked about this a lot already and we continue our discussion. Can you tell us a little bit about how was your transition when you first became a manager?
Oh, it was tough. It was so tough that I didn't think that I will make it. So I was promoted to my leadership role. I'm Global Learning and Development Manager for EMEA and APAC. That happened 3 years ago. I
Wow.
was 23 years ago. I was 28 years old. I was still that fresh employee. I never had leadership positions. I thought I always was a leader in a group settings, or sometimes in the event settings. I was also always that person who is stepping forward and like saying, I will handle, I want to volunteer, let me do that. But when it comes to leadership positions at work, I never had it. And I never had that experience. So that actually didn't go smoothly at all. I had so many, and now as I see it from this perspective, from today's standpoint, and I know the names of it, I had imposter syndrome, I had good girl syndrome, I was unable to say no. Especially to people, who are higher on the hierarchy. I was like, oh my God, and how will I say no to a vice president? It's like, it's not possible. And many other things. So I was fresh, excited person with a baggage of fears and insecurities. And honestly, I think universe saw me and universe helped me because shortly after, a couple of months after, my company launched the internal mentoring program, and I was assigned to a mentor. This woman saved my life. Becca, if you're watching, I just want to acknowledge you. She really saved my life by being my mentor. We had one-to-one calls every week, and we were taking one step at a time. Really, she told me, like, she taught me, sorry, how to say no, how to politely explain people, because what I was afraid to do, I was afraid to be perceived as arrogant when I will say no, right? Or to be a bad person, like, okay, I'm a manager, like, I don't want to be a bad person. So one step at a time, she really, like, planted those seeds of confidence, of, like, this effective communication, professional communication, and she really saved my professional life. Honestly, I don't know what I would have done without her.
I can believe that because mentoring is so important and can be so helpful. I also have in from my previous workplaces, I have some really great mentors and really great leaders who I still look up to and I'm
Right.
still thankful for and have still connections with them because I learned so much from them. They just helped me get from one state of me as a working person to a next state, next myself, sort of. Yes. You said
Réka plus
something.
one, right?
Yes.
Upgraded version.
Yes, the next
Yes,
person.
I love it.
You said something which was resonating with me a lot, that you were the enthusiastic person who always wanted a new project and volunteering and this and that. And when I was a leader, when I became a team lead at corporate, I struggled so much with that as well. And just delegation, like giving things to others and trusting the process and trusting the other people in my team to do their best and do it really, really well. It was a huge thing for me to learn. How did you manage to let go of the I want everything by myself, or like I want to be
That's a
part of
good
everything?
question. That's a good question. So, I want to actually label stuff. I would say
Mhm,
that, the mindset that doesn't want to delegate, I want to call it fixed mindset. Yeah, and the mindset who is actually not taking care of herself or himself, because we can't physically do everything. And the mindset who is delegating and who is trusting is recognizing that is a learning curve there, right? There are lots of experience in there. There are lots of team development in
mhm,
delegation. So I was absolutely super lucky because my team members, as I started having new team members, they were just so amazing that, the delegation process went super smooth.
mhm,
Sometimes I had, issues delegating when I saw that, okay, maybe it will be too much for a person, right? Or like maybe we are not on the same page. So then actually I read a formula which I really like. So if you think that the person can do the task 80% as good as you or better, delegate straight away,
mhm.
right? But we're missing lots of team development opportunities over here. So if there is an opportunity, if there is a timeline, you're not like, facing tough deadlines, I would still involve people to give them the opportunity to learn if this is something that they are
Yes.
interested in and if this will contribute to their job responsibilities.
Yes, and that's so important because otherwise you are basically robbing the team members from learning and growing and getting better in their jobs and getting better skills or new skills. Yes, absolutely. And what you say about time pressure, that was one of the big things for me because I always felt like I'm just extinguishing fires left and right, and I
Yeah.
always felt pressured and I needed to learn what you also said, to say no, like, no, we cannot
Yes.
take this on because I cannot take this on, and our colleague need more time because they are new to this thing. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I agree. It's a
Another
great
thing
formula.
another thing that I want to say, because there are girls like me for sure, so I want to see maybe you're the one too. It's not only the deadlines that your stakeholders are giving you. I had really, really tight deadlines for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I set those deadlines because I thought, and it was partially good girl syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone is giving me a task, which is absolutely possible to do. And instead of telling that I can do it within a week, I'm like, okay, tomorrow, I can do it tomorrow. Or in 2 days, I'll do it in 2 days. So I was actually that villain who put unrealistic pressure on myself.
Yeah.
And like, I really had to become self-aware that I have sometimes unrealistic standards for myself. Therefore, I can set those unrealistic standards for my team, which won't be fair for them.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I was so strict on myself. Then later I realized I was strict with others too.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly, exactly.
Just to step one step back, can you talk about what is the good girl syndrome? Because I don't think it's a
Oh,
really
yes.
like well spread or well known thing. Just in a few words.
Of course, good girl syndrome is actually uh, being very kind and being not being able to say no. It's always being, I would say, convenient girl for everyone,
Mhm.
very often at the cost of your own well-being. So, for example, someone is asking you something like, can you do this task? And you really understand that it's not your responsibility to do that. And the person who is asking can perfectly do that. And it's not urgent at all. But you're saying yes because you want that person to like you. And there
Uh-huh.
is a huge psychological aspect to that because if people like you, psychologically, you're safe.
Mhm.
So there is a huge risk of being good girl because then you will be convenient, you will be like rug, like a carpet for everyone, and there is a huge risk that people will just, clean their feet on you and go. So like what I love to do is, I'm reflecting if there is something that a part of our job responsibilities. Uh, if not, then it's a good question if we should take this request. B is like, do I have resources right now
Mm-hmm.
to do that? And then C, how is this aligned to the A, team's goals, and B, corporate goals overall? Right. And then this is how I figuring out if I want to take it or I want to maybe find another person who will be able to help, maybe give some other resources, right, instead of executing the project. So going back to a good girl syndrome, this is someone who is not able to say no. This is
Mm-hmm.
someone who doesn't have boundaries, right, and want to be good for everyone because subconsciously, sorry, it's the safety zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not safe. If I will say no to you, there is a risk you will not like me, right? And because our brains are very old brain, it's thousands years, million years back. Sometimes they perceive it as a real danger to life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like me, you can hurt me. So I need to be a good girl with you. So because I don't want you to hurt me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. I think it could be really helpful to realize when we act like this. Maybe we don't act like this like 100% of the time, but something triggers this move or like trigger this behavior in us. And that can come out maybe just in a workplace or maybe just in a friend group or yeah, different areas of our life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for that, I would say, we always need to understand the priorities and we always need to act based on our interest and the interest of our teams, right? That's the priority.
Yes.
And in personal setting, I would say always act in your personal interest because you are your biggest treasure. You are your biggest fan and the person who should always support you. So it always should be okay. It should sit well with you.
Yes.
If you feel even on the intuition level, right? Because sometimes we don't trust the intuition. We're like, what is this? But if something is not sitting with you, that means something is wrong. Something needs to change, or maybe you want to take another look at the situation.
Yeah, and I think especially in like corporate world, it's really important to stop sometimes and actually just look at the things because sometimes we are such in a rush or like
Yes.
my thing was like I always wanted to help the team. I always wanted to help my colleagues. I always wanted to be, helpful, like bring, okay, I know this, I will give this to you. And I just basically tore myself apart to
Yeah.
million little things. And I didn't stop like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't do this because maybe it would be better even for the team if we could, share the tasks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's actually Karpman's triangle, and I want to encourage everyone to Google Karpman's triangle. I can resonate with that on the deep level. You were a rescuer. You
Yes,
wanted to
definitely. Yeah.
rescue people. Oh, I was such a rescuer too. Right. And so it's a really interesting triangle is a rescuer, prosecutor, and a victim. And it's like, we're playing those games and we are changing roles. So it's not a good thing to be a rescuer,
Yes.
even though I believe in your culture, and tell me if I'm wrong. And in my culture, it considered a good thing to always be extra super helpful and always to be there for people. But there is really a risk to be a rescuer, which we don't want.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that. Well, the listeners might already know that I'm Hungarian and I currently live in Belgium, and you're from Ukraine and you currently live in Prague, Czech
Yep.
Republic. So yeah,
Thank you.
the Eastern European culture is here. Again, yes, I was a rescuer, and I was a rescuer, and how I like to say it, I had this like savior trigger that I needed to save people. And what helped me and stop this was actually coaching. And when I fell in love with coaching, and when I became a coach, that's when I could put it down. And it helped me to switch my mindset and put this down. And now I look at others and I'm like, yes, they're a perfect, whole human beings and people, and they are fully aware of themselves and their lives, and they can perfectly solve their own things. I might
Yeah.
help and I might provide them the environment or the tools or whatever they need help with, but it's not like they need me to do anything. They are perfectly capable of doing it on their own. So yeah, that was a big
Or
healing journey for me.
or if they need you, let's trust that they will come to you and say they
Yes,
need you.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coaching experience. I second here. It's like it's such a journey of the shift of the mind, and the concept that every person is unique is just whoa.
Yes, and that every person know their own life best, and no matter how much they tell you, you will never know the same. That's why partnership
Yeah.
is so important in the helping professions, especially in coaching. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say, like, honestly, I think that incorporate sometimes it's cool to utilize coaching, but sometimes it's really hard to utilize
Hmm.
coaching. You know what I mean? When there is a certain task,
Yes.
certain responsibilities, and you need to act as the, I would say, manager in its old-fashioned definition, right? You
Hmm.
need to say, okay, here is correct thing, here is not correct thing, and just do this teacher student stuff, I would say, like da 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 da
Yes.
da. But I believe that, introducing coaching to your leadership journey is such a life-changing experience. It's like this is what motivates people, this is what making them more loyal, this is what makes them feel that they're valued. This is really worth exploring coaching techniques and coaching mindset for leadership.
Yes. Actually, there is a really good podcast. I think it's called Coaching for Leaders. I will link it in the episode notes, which is entirely about that. So it's a podcast for leaders about a coaching mindset. And I used to listen to that a lot when I was a leader in corporate.
Oh, that's lovely. That's
Yeah.
lovely.
Yes. I want to go back to your experience becoming a leader, and you had the wonderful experience of having a mentor. But as we talked about leadership before in our private discussions, there are more things you can do and how you help new leaders now to become better leaders or better managers themselves. What would you advise to a completely new leader?
Oh, that's a great question. I love it. So there would be a lot of advices, right? And of course, like I used to work 101. So it's very personalized journey because
Yeah,
there
always.
is no one path, it, right? That is like there are, of course, generic cool advices that I'm about to give, but what makes it even more elevated is a one-to-one coaching. That's why so far I'm not offering the group coaching. I love working with people one-on-one. Advice number one, and I am quite sure you will join this advice, I just know it, is taking a good care of yourself,
Yes.
is your self-talk. Because who you think you really are in reality, right? Because I had this imposter syndrome. I thought I'm not good enough. And I was actually projecting this to the world. And that was part of, like, my deep when I was just promoted. So taking care of yourself, really, really believing that you can do that, and allowing, yourself to be whole, allowing yourself to be bright and awesome and smart, and allowing yourself to be a person who is making mistakes, who maybe sometimes is not at 100%. It's absolutely fine. We're whole people. We have our light sides, we have our dark sides, and that's what makes us unique. And this is what makes us whole, right?
Yes.
So self-care and self-talk is such an important topic. The most important person to whom you're talking is always yourself. Always yourself. The biggest fan, the biggest supporter, the biggest cheerleader, it should always be you.
Yes.
Always.
Yes, and I would like to add here, like knowing yourself and knowing yourself in a leadership setting, in a work setting, is a different thing. So I can know myself super well in my private life, and then
Yeah.
maybe it's not like I'm a different person in the corporate, but I have certain things which I take on or put down from my personality when I'm in my workplace. So, for example, because I became a leader, and actually much earlier than that, um, I'm naturally a leader in these situations. Well, before I got my promotion, I was taking on decisions. I was taking on sort of role of a leader because that's my drive. That's how I function. If there are a bunch of people talking and they are unable to make a decision, I will make a decision because I cannot stand just going around in circles. That's me.
Oh, yes, I'm
And
with you on that. Yes.
but at
This
home,
ambiguity now.
but I'm home, I'm not like that. Like I'm often saying, can you decide, please? Because I don't want to make the decision, or I'm good with whichever you're choosing. I am happy for both. Like let's go that way. Or with friends, I'm much more assertive in a way, like I'm offering them to make these decisions. But at the workplace, I made decisions often and quickly, and and sometimes I noticed, especially when I was a new leader, that I took this attitude home and I needed to like unwind or like go back to my home self, sort of, who is not taking all the decisions by herself.
That actually leads us to the identities conversation, right? Because we
Yeah,
have different identities and it's absolutely okay. And I would actually say that it's super important to have different identities
that
so
was the
that
word
you're
and I didn't
not
remember.
so that you're haha, so that you're not purely relying on one identity. And so the examples here might be, okay, if I will have the only identity of global learning and development manager, and tomorrow I will get fired, oh my God, I will end up being depressed, right? But if I have identity as the global learning and development manager, transformational leadership coach, a friend, right? Someone's partner. So then it's like, I'm really different. It's not about like, what's the definition? It's not about being crazy, having different like, identities. It's an absolutely normal, natural thing because we are
Yes.
different at work. We are different with our friends. We're different with our families. We're different with our partners. Right? So I would say value distribution is really, really important.
Yes.
Because if we have only one identity, and maybe a good example of personal identities might be, I'm a mother. Sometimes, some um, women, their entire identity is rotating around, I am a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ending up being harmful, right? Because we need to be this comprehensive, we need to be, help me with the
More
word, like
complex.
yeah, exactly. Different interests, different hobbies, different activities. We need to get this energy from different places, not only from a single one, because there is a huge risk if that one single place will be under attack, you will lose your entire identity.
Yes, and that actually connects us to resilience, which we often discuss because it's my strong focus, and your focus as well because of leadership. And if you only have one way of being or like one identity, you cannot easily bounce back or adapt to a new situation. If you have more sort of identities or like more things to rely on, if one of the things which are constant in your life suddenly drops out or gets broken or whatever,
Uh-oh.
then you have more to still hang on to, and like you're not feeling that lost. Like,
Yeah.
and I can just bring this expert example again and again because my last move, when we moved to Belgium, I changed jobs. I came from corporate leadership position and I became a freelancer. And the move itself was a huge change. And the job change came a few months later. And it was a completely intentional thing to postpone the job change for later, because if it would have been at the same time, I think I would fall apart. I think I would go
It was a
crazy.
lot of changes. It was a lot of changes at once. So it was
Yes.
super, super cool that you set that intention to allow yourself, to spread out the change, right? It was a self-care stuff even.
Yes.
That is like, okay, that's a big change coming. What do? I break it down into smaller pieces. It was such a smart thing to do.
Oh, yes. And then when you change positions, for example, at work, that's also a big change. And maybe your work identity will change. And I love personality typing to use it to get to know myself better. I don't take it like as a hard truth, like I'm this and this and that's it. But like to get to know more about myself or look at
Yeah.
myself from a different perspective. It's great. And oftentimes they say that you should feel these things out or like look at these typing things from different situations. What's your type as a mother? What's your type as a working person? What's your
Yes.
type as a partner? What's your type as a daughter or son of someone? And I completely agree. And
Yeah.
that just adds to the mix, and it's super helpful if you know, okay, I'm behaving like this because I'm in this character right now, sort of, because I'm at work and I can't put it down when I go home.
It was an interesting, like I remember the story. We were chatting, it was a couple of years ago. We were chatting with a new hire that I was training at my company, and we were actually chatting about how we can switch on and off, our working
Mm-hmm.
hats. And she actually told me that in her previous company, what they used to do, they had a bush in front of the office. So every time they come to the office, they tap on the bush. They're like, check in, I'm coming to work, I'm wearing this work hat. Now it's time to tune in work stuff, my emails, what kind of calls do I need to do? And then every time they go out, 5:30, 6 p.m., they tap on the same bush once again, and they're like, check out, amigos. That's it. So, and it's a psychological thing, right? And it's really, really super cool. I'm reading a super cool book now. It's called Deep Work, but by Cal Newport, and he's advising the same. He's like, okay, have the checkout even ritual every day so that you can, finish one identity and
Yes,
go into another to transition. It's really, really important. Otherwise, you might
super
have
important.
an urge to check your emails at 9 p.m. that I had.
And
So, it's really, really important.
it's not just that,
Another,
but mixing, sorry, just one thing, like
yeah,
mixing these things and not having sort of this check in, check out might mean that you are okay, I don't have a better word, bleeding the stress into one area from the another.
you're
So
like,
I remember during COVID, it was really hard for me. I was a new leader and our team had some like we didn't have a full team and I needed to take a lot of overtime. And there was not so much like walking home from work or walking to work or commuting or anything. I was home all the time, work time, leisure
oof,
time, everything. And if you remember,
that blend.
Prague was completely in lockdown in COVID for a really long time, meaning you could not even leave the city or come back if you didn't have a
Yeah,
business reason.
yeah,
And you couldn't, like, there was a curfew and you couldn't go for long walks at first, just if you had a dog and so on and so forth. Anyway, so there was this situation. I was a new leader. I needed to take a lot of overtime and it was really, really stressful. And what I did is that when I closed my computer, I immediately changed to workout clothes and I did a home workout. It was 20 minutes. It was sometimes really basic. And I was like really suffering because I was just
in the
getting into a
beginning,
routine. Yeah, because it was hard for me, to transition. But
of course,
that moving my body after I closed my computer helped me to put the stress down with it and then
absolutely.
sort of transitioning to my personal life. And in the morning, it was got the coffee, open the computer, and then start working. So the opening computer and closing the computer, like physically
Yeah,
closing it,
yes.
that was the change and the workout. So something like this, it might be for you walking home from work or like always stopping at the flower shop, or I don't know,
Transition.
walking the dog, or like, I don't know, everything in my head connects to movement, but yeah, the
But it's
transition is important.
cool because movement is life, movement is energy, movement is action. We have to move. Yeah,
Yes. And it helps with resilience as well, because if you,
absolutely.
there is a physical resilience which you need to exercise, you need to keep yourself healthy, which means if you get sick, you will get healthier like sooner or easier again, because you keep taking care of yourself. So that's part of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I love it. I love it. Transition is so important. And I remember we had the conversations during the COVID, like, what keeps you actually motivated, during this COVID. And some people were like, you know what, I'm actually dressing up in the morning. Like I'm
Hmm.
dressing up as if I am going to the office. And it's again the psychological thing, right? It gives us this confidence. Is the same as the transition period, is the psychological boom, click, click, go.
Yes, dressing up. And especially now when I am not in a 9 to 5, it became so important for me to dress up when I take the dog down. That's my transition now. You
I
know,
love it.
and it changed the mindset. It changed that
Yes.
it's my working time, it's my working day. Yeah.
Even outside of the work, for example, I used to dress up like a homeless person when I was going for a walk,
Hmm.
evening walk. I was like, whatever, no one is looking at me. Like I will just do something really basic, and I will go. And then I like, a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago, even I tried to experiment. I was like, what if I will dress up really, really nicely without any reason? And I'll
Hmm.
just go out for a walk. Oh my God, it was such a cool experience, I felt much more like even lighter. I felt more confident. The style of my walk changed. Everything changed.
Hmm.
It really gave, that um, inner confidence. It didn't give inner confidence. It just gave
Strength,
this trigger.
boost.
Hmm?
Yeah. Mindset
Yes,
boost. Yeah.
yes, it boosts. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I stopped your list of things for new leaders with the stories. So we can go on.
I'm not quite sure that it's only for leaders. I think it's really, really important for everyone. So we started to talk about such a cool topic as identities. Also, it's really amazing to separate and understand the separation between having identity and being identity. Because
Mm,
sometimes, you know, some of the societies, they are really materialistic. And sometimes we define ourselves by what we are having. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
in material world, it might be money, flats, and whatever, but it also might be positions.
mm-hmm,
Positions at work. It might also be position in the society, right? And so again, it's similar to what we were talking, like mother identity or like singular identity versus really comprehensive, like differentiated identity. So that's having identity, right? Materialistic possessions, positions, and stuff like that. Being identity, meaning investing in yourself, in your inner development. And basically, being identity is resilience and self-reliance, right?
mm-hmm,
So whatever happens, if I am not a global learning and development manager tomorrow, I know that I have myself. I know that I have my skills. I know that I am super capable of finding the solution. And so this is the being identity,
and
you
you
know,
still know that you are still Dasha, you know? Yeah.
and that's the belief system. That's self-image. That's everything is a being identity. Yeah, I know that I will find solution for everything, right? That's why I'm not afraid to be left alone or to be fired or whatever, right? That's a strong belief system that I believe that I will manage every situation that is coming my way. And actually, if it's something like a crisis situation, at the end of the day, it will make me stronger and more resilient.
Yes.
That's the belief, because initially how I was taught as a kid and as a teenager, that bad things is just bad. You have to hide and you have to really wait until it will pass. And you have to like be like, okay. Now what I'm understanding that you actually need to face it. Yeah,
Mhm.
with the belief, I'm rebuilding my belief systems completely with the belief that it's actually for the greater good. And if we will now look back and we will think about some tough situations, so if you will think about you moving to Belgium or anything tough that happened to you, like what would be your takeaway in terms of resilience? Did it make you stronger?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? What is your outcome? What is your takeaway about you being the first time leader? Did it make you stronger and more resilient and more smart?
Yeah, and learning new stuff about myself and learning new stuff about my job. And yeah, it actually my biggest thing about becoming a leader, like officially becoming a leader, was the official part because I took on the team lead tasks and role well before I got my actual official um, title because that was the situation and I just naturally stepped into it and we discussed with my manager and we just waited for the paperwork for a long time. It took a year actually.
Wow.
And for a year I was doing the things I needed to do as a leader because I knew that's what is needed in the team. I knew I am capable of doing it and I actually felt like doing it. So, it was a really good combination. And then I got my title. And it was interesting that that was another milestone and another like border sort of, which I needed to step over and like, okay, now I'm here and I don't have to, shrug my shoulders and say like, yeah, I'm kind of the person who makes this decision, but I'm actually shouldn't be here in the regional meeting because we don't have a leader officially. But I was like, yes, I am the leader. And it was hard for me to
Full
say
stop.
I'm the lead, And what I did, even though I was sort of leading the team for a year now, I actually sat down with my team like, okay, guys, now that it's official, what do you actually need from me, which maybe I didn't do before? And like, what
Feedback.
could help you the most? And what is your expectation? What will happen now?
So
And I think
important.
one of the good things to do as a new leader, especially if you've never done this before, is to turn to your team and don't be afraid of not knowing, because if you trust them, they will as well give the trust to you. If they see
Yeah.
that you're consistently there, that you actually want to help them, that you are there for the team and not just, show in a paper and like, hey, I'm the leader. You will
Did you
do.
see my signature?
Yes,
You see
and
my
you will
signature?
do
It
as I
says I'm a
say.
manager.
Yeah, yeah. If you're
Yeah,
not like that,
absolutely.
then trust the team and they will be there and they will help you and you can both learn. And since I became a leader within the group already, so I was part of the team already and I just sort of stepped up, it was a totally different transition than if I would go to a totally new team, to a new corporate, to a new company, which I didn't know. That's a totally different thing. I don't know how about you, how it was for you, but that's how I felt.
No, that's amazing that you had such a smooth transition. And
Mhm.
what is even more amazing is that you asked the feedback, right? Because we are talking about leadership tools now, and feedback is one of the most powerful tools ever. Another thing, like feedback sometimes can be tough,
Mhm.
right? Feedback is a whole topic for exploration. What is important to understand in feedback is that sometimes it can be critical feedback, right? And sometimes you like, what I want to say, the only thing that you can change is your attitude and yourself, and you can take this feedback and then play with it. Not every feedback should be taken seriously. Some of the feedback I personally believe should be taken, and then the minute you leave the door, it's a cancellation, but the majority of the feedback you have to process. Some of the feedback might be painful, and when the feedback is painful, and when you feel that people sort of are attacking you, there is a big risk to find yourself in fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? Either fighting, no, that's not me, I didn't do that. Freeze would be really not knowing what to do, right? And fleeing would be, well, yeah, okay, I need to go. Bye. I'm not like, up for this conversation right now. So
Or
if
I'm
we
not
really
not good
want,
for to be a leader, because sometimes we can question that. Yeah, that's a
might
flee.
be, but if we are young leaders, I would say we need to cut ourselves some slack.
Yeah.
Right? Because it builds up, it builds up. It's okay to have such reactions in the beginning. But as we progress and as we mature as leaders, we need to be aware of those reactions, right? And that's why I think self-care and self-identity, it plays a vital role, because if you don't have a strong sense of self and a strong self of identity, it's really easy to be a victim of those responses, right? And or not even take the feedback, because feedback is treasure. There's so much value in a good feedback,
Yes.
right? Because we can't see it all. It's the same with coaching, right? It's all about the expansion. It's all about the expansion. But really, there is an art of giving the feedback and taking the feedback.
Yes, and regarding this, I think there is one more important thing, that you cannot force feedback. Sometimes people will just not open up and will not tell you because A, they don't know how to give feedback or what to say. B, there might not be the trust built up yet,
Yeah,
and they
true.
won't tell you. And it's not because you're a bad leader, or it's not because they hate you. It's just simply takes time and effort and consistency. Trust is such a big word, but it comes from consistency. If I'm
Yeah.
consistently showing up for you, for the team, for the task, then after a long time, people will understand, yes, she's not going anywhere. He's still there here. He's still doing it, you know, and they will be okay. Maybe it's not just for a little bit. Maybe we can rely on that person, and then they will open up. And it's not like
It takes time.
you are dropped as a leader somewhere, like, yes, now we will have one-on-one with everyone. Let's sit down and tell me what you expect, what you want, and how should I be a better leader? Like, how can I be a better leader? It worked for me because my team knew me. I was part of
Yeah.
the team for a long while.
Yeah, I actually can relate to that. It's like lots of people from my team, they knew me before, and we had a chance to work before, and that actually helped,
Mm.
right? And that builded trust. And trust is not something that is coming overnight. You have to, like, really work on it. And sometimes, progress is not linear. Sometimes we will be falling and then rising and then falling and then rising. And it's a journey. It's a journey. So sometimes what I'm saying now, and I would have never said that 3 years ago, sometimes don't be that serious. It's just, and that's your phrase, which is absolute my total favorite. Let it breathe.
Oh
Just
yeah.
let it breathe. And it's okay. It's okay to, like, make mistakes. It's okay to I don't know. It's okay to be yourself, really.
Or
Because
not
sometimes I
know.
feel, yes, sometimes people are way too serious, way too serious. And I'm like, chill, just chill. It's all going to be fine. Really, sometimes we need to demonstrate our human being side. Not only the strict professionals from corporate, we're also human beings. And being vulnerable is a big part of a good leadership. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's actually something we also talked about, what differentiates a leader from a boss. And I wanted to touch on that topic actually, because I think being vulnerable and letting go of the old-time seriousness is one of the things which makes someone a leader instead of a boss.
Absolutely. And it again brings us down to the sense of identity, right? Because I believe that only confident people can be vulnerable. Only confident people can say, listen, I really feel terrible right now. Can, is it okay to postpone it? Or, a couple of years ago, I made a terrible mistake. Let me tell it to you. Like, I don't know, I mixed up the numbers, or I didn't do right by this person. And, it's just showing that we're human beings. Oh, so first of all, it boils down to the identity level, right? I really believe that people who are vulnerable and who really give themselves permission to be vulnerable are confident people. And so, if on the level of identity, you allowed yourself to be this person who can make mistakes, who can have both sides, dark and light, right? And it's okay to be a human being. It's like, come on, we're not robots, we're not AI yet, maybe. Who knows? So, but by being vulnerable, you're actually showing and giving an example that you're a human being, right? And you're giving hope to other person that it's okay. And it's sort of, usually it takes off lots of weight from people's shoulders. And vulnerability really builds trust. If you will ask me about the shortest way how to build trust with anyone, I would say be vulnerable. Be vulnerable, but know who you are,
And
right?
also keep boundaries. For me, the one thing would be
Yeah,
consistency, but keep boundaries because yes, own your mistakes and be vulnerable, but on your first day you don't have to tell your tragic story from your previous
yeah,
employment to your new
for
team.
sure.
Yeah, so if it fits, yes. If
Know the
you made
time.
something, yes. Know the time, yes. And that's, yeah, that's, I agree, that's what people can connect to. Like, we can connect to the human side of people. If someone is this super serious, always uptight person in the workplace, I will have a harder time writing them an email or going to them with something which I have
Yeah,
maybe an idea about, or like a proposal, or yeah, something to say. But if you are my manager, I'm like, hey Dasha, do you have a minute, or can we schedule like a call and can we discuss this? And yeah, it's fine.
boundaries is a big thing. Boundaries is a really, really big thing because you want to have harmony in your boundaries. So
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly like, how do you want to appear? How do you want to show up for people? You don't want to be a good girl. Yeah, what I was, yeah, and this you can do, yes, and this, yes, and can you clean the floor? Yes, and can you do this? Yes, of course, right? But another extreme is like, can you do that? No. Can you do that? No, not my job. Sorry. No, grumpy person, right? So it's really cool to have decent boundaries. And it takes time to build decent boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And boundaries are not the same for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes you want to make an exception, or sometimes, there is a different story. So all the time you need to think, to reflect, to adjust. How do I want to show up for this situation? Like, what would be the right thing to do in this situation? How do I want to take it? Is it true? Is it not true? And stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness, but it all begins with self-identity.
Yes, and as we said at the start, there is no one fits all recipe for this and
No.
how to be a good leader. And you need to adapt to times, just how we needed to adapt to certain changes in the world a few years ago, and how we still need to adapt to AI or whatever new is coming. So it's not like you finally figured out how to manage your
No,
team and
you'll
it
never
will never
do.
change. It will always be different, and
Evolve.
that's
It's
the
like
beauty of
levels.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like a game, like, congratulations, level 2, and then congratulations, level 3, and then there is no end. There's nothing
yes,
like, okay, now she's perfect. Mm-mm. You will always, the more you expand, the more, like, the bigger scope you're responsible for, the more challenges you're taking. And the more challenges actually you're going through, the stronger you become, the more resilient you become, the better leader you become.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would want to say, don't be afraid to take side quests. You don't, if you became a leader, you don't always have to be a leader. And you might
Yes.
be asked to take part in a project where you are not the leader. You are just one person or the person who tests
And you'll
the
be
new
like,
solution.
oh, yes. Yes, I love it.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe you would do
That's
something
brilliant.
operational, which you don't do for a long while now. But it's great because it refreshes your skills or it brings you new ones, and you get to have a new perspective or yeah, new knowledge which you can build into your routine
I
later.
love it. I love it because sometimes we're going on autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
right, in our positions and like, during our typical work routine. But what it does, like when you're going on the side project, it pulls you from autopilot and you're like, oh my God, what is going on? And especially like, if you're not a leader, it's cool. It's an art to being led too,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, I am sure that there's a pool of knowledge and resources and cool stuff to learn on the side projects when, like, the roles are changing, the responsibilities are changing, and you're just finding yourself in a different environment.
And you can learn from other leaders.
Yes, yes, yes. That's another cool thing. That's actually, I think I was just privileged to have amazing, amazing leaders by my
Mm-hmm.
side all the time. And I was looking at them and I was like, whoa, that is cool. And when I
Mm-hmm.
became a leader, I was like, okay, now I will do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, honestly, what I want to say for people who are embarking on their first managerial or leadership positions, or people who are, just watching, uh, cut new leaders some slack.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really hard. It might look easy and it might look like, oh, it's like, there might be endless expectations from the new leaders. But what I want, like the message I wanna leave in this podcast is like cut some slack for the leaders, and the new leaders should cut some slack for themselves and be
Mm-hmm.
very kind to themselves because it's another new environment for them. And
Yes.
it's not easy. It's not easy by all means.
No, definitely not. From outside, it might seem really privileged to be a leader, but it's actually a huge challenge. And it's an amazing journey, but yeah, it's a big challenge too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dasha, for this amazing discussion. I was looking forward so much to talk with you about this topic. Um, we will link all your contacts like Facebook or like LinkedIn or webpage or whatever you will want in the episode notes so people can find you. And I hope that we can discuss these things again soon. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you so much. It was so cool. Our chat was truly, truly awesome. I thank you for that, Réka.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for listening. Meet you soon. Bye bye.
All righty. Bye bye.